Hello there, folks. Bonkekook here, aka your Lonely Achievement God, continuing our Lawn Mowing Simulator challenge coverage with the second amateur challenge, the Jefferson Garden. We're using one of the night mowers, which is a pretty decent mower. I've enjoyed using it. We have a time limit in this one instead of a fuel challenge, so you do have to be rather thorough and efficient with your cutting. So if you follow along with me, you'll be fine. 29 minutes isn't too bad. We're probably going to be spending like 5 to 7 minutes using the string trimmer, and then the rest of it will be on the mower. You do have a 50 currency fine limit. Because of that, we're going to be making extra sure that we don't hit the fountain in the middle, because the fountain in the middle can cause us to lose quite a bit of money or damage our mower if we hit it. So other than that, there's a couple of trees and some hedges along the outside, but not too much to worry about. Let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to grab our string trimmer and we're going to work our way along the outside. What I recommend doing is just kind of pushing yourself up against the wall as far as you can, and then angling the string trimmer so you can just walk forward and the trimmer will do all of the work. You can do that on almost all of the walls around the outside. You'll reach a hedge over here, and I recommend kind of doing my patented circles along the hedge before and after it, because getting your mower into those areas can be difficult. And something else you always want to do, which I didn't do in our first challenge, pause it so you know what your cut percentage is. We need a 99.5% cut percent. That means we can afford to be, a little sloppy and leave some grass behind. Just like before, get your body up against the hedge. Just align your string trimmer and you can just walk forward and edge, get all the grass along the edge cut without much of an issue. Do the circles in the corner again, because your mower will have a hard time turning that far into the corner. And you might notice a little warning that says you're cutting the wrong grass when you're up against the wall. Don't worry about that. Apparently there's grass on the other side of the wall, and that's when you stick your trimmer through the wall a little bit and cut grass on the other side, the game thinks you're trying to cut the wrong grass. Weird little warning. Once again, do some circles in the corner so that your mower can turn around more easily, and we've made it all the way around. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back to the tree. We're going to do our patented circles around the tree. And move on to the next one. There are, I believe, 3 trees on each side, so there's not a whole lot of obstacles in the middle of the lawn that you need to worry about. There is a bench over here, and once again we're going to use our patented circles so we don't have to get too close to the bench. We'll work on the trees over on this side, and then we'll save the fountain for last. Okay, with that done, we're gonna do the circles around the fountain, just so that not wide ones, but just enough so that we don't have to worry about getting too close with the mower. any of the pools, fountains, there's a bandstand on one of the expert challenges. Anything massive like that you run into causes a massive penalty if you hit it. So things like this are things you really want to use the circles on. And there we go. We're done. We'll head back and get the mower. We got 24.5 minutes to mow the whole lawn, which should not be an issue. As always, I like to mow with the left side, so that's what I'm going to do. And we need a 5 to 6 centimeter cut height. So we'll get it to 6, hit X to start cutting, and we'll work our way along. We don't drive very fast with this mower, but we shouldn't need to go too fast. And because of how well we trimmed the edges, we shouldn't have any issues turning and keeping ourselves from ramming into the objects along the edge. This level has some uneven terrain too, so be careful of that, although you're driving so slowly that it shouldn't be too much of an issue. And as long as you aren't like driving super fast, which again our mower isn't capable of doing that, running into things shouldn't cause you too much of a penalty anyways. But as you can see, our wide berths made those corners easy, and we've already completed our first lap. Do watch when you're turning, because you may cut a lot of grass at once, and you could potentially overload your engine on the corners. Again, overloads, in the bottom left-hand corner, you see the engine condition meter and the red bar that if your engine condition falls below that, you instantly fail. Because of how slow you're driving, you're not likely going to overload your engine very much. But if you do, just kind of tap the accelerator so that your mower doesn't come to a complete stop. We are timed, so we can't afford to, completely stop and start. Try to get into the habit of tapping it if you can. And if you are on a fuel challenge, you can just drop the accelerator completely and let your mower come to a stop. But for time challenges, you want to get in the habit of kind of tapping. And also, as you can see, I'm kind of keeping the grass between around 75% of the mower to try to keep from overloading the engine. That's not always successful, but between 50 and 75% is kind of the ideal amount of grass to be trying to cut at once, depending on how high the grass is, how good your mower is, how fast you're driving. There's a lot of factors to consider, but generally between 50 and 75% is a safe amount of grass. To be able to keep moving at top speed anyways. Our blistering 4.4 miles per hour. Ooh, we got above that. We were on a hill. But something else you can do if you're good at math to try to kind of estimate how well you're doing. We just hit the 25% progress mark, and we got on the mower with 24 minutes and 30 seconds left. So if we were keeping, a percent tally, we went up about, I think it was like 15% in 4.5 minutes. which would mean we'd need about, 5 to 6 more laps like that um, at that pace to complete our run. So if we take that in 4.5 minutes, or excuse me, 4 minutes for 15%, times 6 would mean we'd need 24 minutes to complete our run. And that kind of gives you an estimate of how well you're doing. Now, don't let it stress you out. It's more for informational purposes. And the first couple of laps you take are going to be the least effective at cutting because you have the longest distance to travel. The more you cut inward, the faster you're going to cut. And I've noticed that multiple times when I've done this, whereas I'll reach 25% and be less than a quarter of a way, or more than a quarter of a way through the challenge, and I wind up obliterating the pace by the end. And again, try to stick between the 50 and 75% mark for grass. You've kind of noticed I've been overloading the engine a little more than I probably should. I need to set a good example for all you aspiring lawnmowers. To treat your equipment with care. But I haven't noticed too many spots where I've overloaded it so much that I haven't cut the grass. There's been 1 or 2 spots where I've had to jump out to cut some missed grass that we missed on a previous lap, and there's one up here. But there haven't been too many of those. And we're approaching 50%. And we're only 11 minutes into the challenge. I mean, that should give you a pretty good idea of where you're at. Again, I try to use that that initial time limit, the amount of grass we cut using the string trimmer, and how much we've been cutting with the mower, all of that information to kind of create a level of pace in my head. Obviously, that's not required. If you're not that good at math, you can be angry at me because that was my major for a bit in college, but I've always been fairly good at doing math in my head, so it's not required. It just is some extra information to kind of give you an idea of if you need to try to pick up the pace, or if you're, going to have an easy rest of the way. It's not foolproof, but it has been fairly accurate for me. It was so dark there, I almost missed that overload spot. And again, that's somewhere where the Pro View comes in handy, especially in the darker areas. don't be afraid to use it, though you do have to come to a complete stop in order to use the Pro View. You can see we did miss some grass on the outside, but because we only have a 99.5% cut requirement, those little bits aren't going to add up to enough to stop us from completing the challenge. And even if they do, if you do finish cutting all the grass with your mower with some time left, you could run back to the trailer and pick up the string trimmer to finish off some of those bits that you've noticed. At the pace we're going at right now, we're probably going to finish this with about 5 minutes left. You may have noticed there we missed a little bit of grass when we turned. Turning is a bit of a crapshoot in first-person mode because it's hard to tell when you should turn, and that's why I warned you about overloads during turning. Because if you turn too early, you may end up trying to cut an entire patch of grass with your mower, and you've seen that happen to me a couple of times when I've turned. We start overloading. It's because where we're cutting might be in a different spot than the front of our mower here. So if we turn too early, we may end up turning into the entire patch of grass and trying to cut more grass than our mower can handle at once. So it's almost better to turn a little bit later than you think in most cases, just so that you don't run into that overload issue. And we're actually going to cut this here and divide this section up. Now that we're getting towards the end, we're 75% of the way through, and we've been in the challenge for 17.5 minutes. So we are in very good shape. Another way you can avoid overloading your engine is, obviously it depends on what side of the mower you're cutting with, but if we start to overload, just kind of quickly tap to the left here so that we'd be cutting less grass. And same thing if you're cutting with the right side, tap to the right so that you're trying to cut less grass as you drive forward. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened there. My mower froze. We're going to do a quick look at the Pro View here just to make sure we've gotten everything and didn't miss any overloads because it is dark over here. And we're going to do it again on this side. Okay, we're good to go. That was weird. I was backing up and it almost felt like I ran into a tree, but there was nothing over there. And we just hit the 6-minute mark. We're almost done, so we're actually going to be a bit ahead of the 5-minute mark I had estimated. Assuming, of course, that we didn't miss so much grass that we have to do some cleanup. And there's 99.5. You can see how much extra grass we could have missed and still completed the cut. So with that done, head back to the trailer. Again, if you want to avoid a fine, you can back onto it. But we have plenty of room to get fined and still survive, so we're going to just drive straight on. and head over to the truck door to leave. As always, if you have any questions or comments for me, reach out to me, and I will do my best to answer them. But if not, I will see you guys next time.